Welcome back for another deep dive. You know we love tackling your questions, and today we're taking on a big one. What does the Bible actually have to say about business?
It's a really interesting question.
To get to the bottom of it, we decided to turn to a talk by Myron Golden.
Oh, yeah, Myron
You
Golden.
familiar with him?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an entrepreneur and a motivational speaker, and he's actually built this really incredible career by applying biblical principles to his business.
I love that.
And now he's really passionate about, sharing this perspective.
Right. It's interesting because he starts off by kind of challenging a pretty common perception that we see a lot.
Mm-hmm.
This whole idea that business is evil.
Right.
He points out how, like, back in the 70s, Hollywood really started portraying business people as the villains,
Oh, yeah.
and that idea really took hold, and it's kind of become this pervasive narrative.
Yeah, it's interesting how that image has kind of stuck with us,
For sure.
like the greedy businessman.
Right.
But what Golden does is he completely flips the script. He argues that business is actually a divine concept,
Okay.
that it's a system God created to promote human productivity and ultimately to serve one another.
I like that. That's a really cool way to look at it.
Right.
It really makes you rethink that whole business is bad narrative.
It really does.
So how does he actually support this idea?
Well, he goes right to the Bible,
Right, to the source.
to the source, and he pulls from both the Old and New Testaments
Okay.
to show that it's not just his personal interpretation.
Right.
From the Old Testament, he brings up Ecclesiastes 5.3,
Okay.
which says, "A dream cometh through a multitude of business."
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
So he's basically reading that as like scriptural encouragement for entrepreneurship,
Absolutely.
that it's a pathway to actually achieving those dreams. It's not just about working for somebody else. It's about building something of your own.
Yes.
And I think that resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah, especially today.
What makes it even more compelling is that Golden shares his own personal story
Right.
as proof. He talks about going from driving a trash truck,
Uh-huh.
making $6.25 an hour.
Highway robbery, as he calls it,
Highway robbery. Yeah.
which I love.
Yeah.
He goes from that to building this super successful business
Wow.
that, brings in hundreds of thousands of dollars every month.
That's incredible.
So it's a pretty powerful testament to the potential of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. It shows that anyone, regardless of where you start out, can achieve those dreams if they approach business with the right mindset.
Absolutely. And it's really inspiring, for anyone who might be feeling stuck or discouraged.
For sure.
But I think there are going to be some people who hear this and say, okay, the Old Testament is one thing, but the New Testament is all about the afterlife.
Right? That's a good point.
Yeah.
So how does he address that?
Well, Golden addresses that head on.
Okay.
He argues that the New Testament is just as applicable to earthly matters,
Uh-huh.
and business is no exception. He
Hmm.
even pulls up some verses to make his case.
Okay.
One that he uses is 1 Thessalonians 4.1112,
Okay.
which encourages believers to study to be quiet and to do your own business,
Okay.
meaning working diligently and honestly so that you're not in need.
Interesting. So it's not about just kind of being passive or just waiting for things to happen. It's about taking action,
Yeah.
creating your own success,
Right.
but you're doing it in a way that is ethical and honest.
Exactly.
That's a really cool way to look at it.
Yeah. And he also highlights Ephesians 5.16,
Okay.
where Paul talks about redeeming the time.
Ah, redeeming the time.
Yeah, because the days are evil.
That's an interesting one because, in business, so much of it is about time management
Right.
and making the most of those opportunities.
Absolutely.
So how does he interpret that in a business context?
Well, he says that redeeming the time is about buying back your time,
Okay.
rescuing it from being wasted,
Uh-huh.
and ultimately creating better opportunities for yourself.
It's about being intentional,
Exactly.
not letting those moments slip away.
Right.
I mean, that really resonates with me
Mm-hmm.
because how many of us, we waste hours scrolling on our phones,
Yeah.
getting caught up in distractions.
Oh,
But imagine if we redirected that energy towards, building our businesses or pursuing our goals.
right.
I think this idea of redeeming the time could be huge.
It's a powerful call to action.
It is.
It reminds us that we have the power to really shape our own destinies, especially when times are tough.
I love that. Speaking of powerful ideas, before we dive any deeper into Golden's perspective,
Yeah.
I just want to remind everyone watching to please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
Hit that subscribe button
We've got so many more deep dives coming your way, and we'd love for you to join us for all of them.
and the notification bell so you don't miss a single one.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Now, getting back to Golden, he connects this concept of redeeming the time to an even bigger idea,
Hmm.
the idea of freedom.
Ooh, this is getting good.
Tell me more.
He draws this parallel between John 8.32, where Jesus says, "The truth shall make you free." And the idea that like understanding these biblical principles in business can bring real freedom in your life.
So it's not just about financial freedom,
Right.
but freedom in like all aspects of life.
Exactly.
Aligning your work with your values,
Mm.
finding purpose, creating a life you love.
It's about living a life of purpose and meaning.
I love that.
Yeah.
And to kind of illustrate this point, he points to the lives of these biblical figures
Right.
who were not just spiritually devout,
Yeah.
but also incredibly successful in business.
Yes.
And he talks about Abraham,
Mm-hmm.
who in Genesis 13 was described as very rich in cattle and in silver and in gold.
Right.
So he's using Abraham as like a prime example of somebody who really embodied both spiritual and material wealth.
Absolutely.
It's interesting because so often we're told that those two things are at odds,
Right.
that wealth and spirituality kind of don't go together.
Yeah, like you can't have both.
Yeah,
But Golden's arguing the exact opposite.
totally.
Yeah.
And he doesn't stop there. He brings up all these other figures like Job, Isaac, Jacob, and Solomon,
Mm-hmm.
all these successful businessmen,
In their own right.
to reinforce this idea that material prosperity isn't inherently evil
Right.
or like incompatible with faith.
It's not about demonizing wealth.
Right.
It's about how you use it.
It challenges that whole money is the root of all evil kind of mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like he's saying that it's not money itself that's the problem. It's our relationship with it,
Absolutely.
how we use it,
Our attachment to it.
whether we let it control us.
Right. It's about using your resources wisely,
Okay.
operating with integrity,
Right.
letting your faith inform your business practices.
You know, one thing that really stands out to me is how he connects the kingdom of heaven to business principles.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about how Jesus used all these business analogies in Matthew 13
Mm-hmm.
to describe the kingdom of heaven,
Right.
which suggests this really strong connection between those two worlds.
Yeah, it's like he's saying that the principles of good business, like hard work, diligence, strategic planning,
Uh-huh.
are actually reflections of spiritual value.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right.
So for those of us who maybe aren't like deeply religious,
Yeah.
how can we connect with that concept?
Well, I think it's about asking yourself, what are my core values?
Okay.
How can I infuse those values into my work?
Uh-huh.
How can I serve my customers and my community in a way that aligns with my beliefs?
It's about bringing that sense of purpose and integrity to everything you do,
Exactly.
whether you're running, a big Fortune 500 company
Yeah,
or you're managing a small Etsy shop.
right.
It's about infusing that into the work.
It's about that intentionality.
That's such a powerful way to look at it
It is.
because it's not just about chasing those profits.
Mm-hmm.
It's about creating something meaningful
Yeah,
and using your business as this force for good in the world.
I love that.
And Golden doesn't shy away from talking about the blessings that come from aligning your business with those biblical principles.
He does not.
He ends his talk on this really inspiring message about prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more.
He quotes Proverbs 10.22, which says, "The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it."
Ooh, I like that.
Right? So it's this beautiful reminder that when you operate your business ethically in alignment with your faith, you can experience true prosperity.
Okay.
Not just financially, but in every area of your life.
It's like he's saying that when you're living in alignment with your purpose and you're serving others, the universe conspires to support you.
Yes.
The money flows, the doors open, and you experience that level of abundance that goes way beyond just the material wealth.
Absolutely. And what I find so compelling about his message is that he really emphasizes that this prosperity doesn't come at the expense of others.
Right.
It's not about taking advantage of people or exploiting them.
Yeah.
It's about creating those win-win situations where everybody benefits.
So it's about abundance, not scarcity.
Yes.
Believing that there's enough to go around and that by lifting others up, you ultimately lift yourself up too.
It's this beautiful cycle of giving and receiving.
I love that.
And Golden makes such a strong case for how business can be this powerful vehicle for that.
It's such a refreshing and inspiring perspective on this whole intersection of faith and business.
It is.
And before we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to remind everybody watching to please hit that like button,
Yes.
subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
We love having you here.
We're diving into all sorts of fascinating topics, and we don't want you to miss a single episode.
Absolutely. Now, as we start to kind of wrap things up, I want to ask you what resonated most with you from Golden's message.
Ooh, good question.
What are you taking away from this deep dive?
For me, the biggest takeaway is that business can be so much more than just a way to make money.
Right.
It can be this reflection of our values,
Mm-hmm.
a way to make a positive impact on the world. And ultimately, this path to both material and spiritual fulfillment.
I love that.
And it all starts with that shift in mindset,
Right.
recognizing that faith and business aren't these things that have to be separate,
Mm-hmm.
but that they can actually complement each other.
Absolutely. And Golden really emphasizes that it's not about, trying to manipulate your faith for financial gain.
Right.
It's about letting your faith inform your decisions,
Uh-huh.
guide your actions, shape the kind of business you create.
It's about being intentional, operating with integrity, and using your talents and resources to really make a difference.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
they struggle with that balance.
Mm-hmm.
They're so focused on the bottom line
Right.
that they forget about the bigger picture.
That's where Golden's message is so valuable.
Yeah,
It's a reminder that we don't have to choose between success and spirituality.
totally.
We can have both.
You can have it all.
And in fact, when we strive to align our work with our faith, we often find that we achieve even more success than we ever thought possible.
It's like we're tapping into this source of energy
Right.
and inspiration that just propels us forward.
Absolutely.
It's not just about the hustle and the hard work.
Mm.
It's about working smarter, working with purpose, and working in alignment with something bigger than ourselves.
And that's where the fulfillment comes in.
Right.
When you're not just building a business, but you're building a legacy
Uh-huh.
that's rooted in your values and your faith.
I love that.
That's when you find that real satisfaction in your work.
Yeah, it's not just about making a living.
Mm-hmm.
It's about making a life
Yes.
that's filled with purpose and meaning
Absolutely.
and abundance in all areas.
Abundance.
It's about using your business as this platform to create positive change,
Mm-hmm.
to lift others up, and to leave the world better than you found it.
Yeah, who wouldn't want that?
Exactly. And Golden's message is so empowering because it shows us that we have the power to create that kind of life,
Yeah.
that kind of business.
It's not a pipe dream.
It's not some fantasy.
It's the possibility.
It's a possibility for anyone who's willing to put in the work and align their actions with their faith.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that we all have these unique talents and gifts
Mm-hmm.
that we can use to make a difference.
Yeah.
It's about embracing that entrepreneurial spirit
Mm-hmm.
and letting our faith guide us on that journey.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
It has
We've covered so much ground,
so much.
and I hope our listeners are walking away feeling inspired
Yes.
and ready to take action.
Inspired and empowered.
And before we sign off, one last reminder to like this video
Hit that like button.
and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into fascinating topics just like this one.
We love exploring these ideas with you, and we're excited to continue this journey together. So as you go about your week, consider this. How might applying these principles to your work or business lead to greater fulfillment and success?
That's a good one to ponder.
It is. It's a question worth pondering and perhaps even experimenting with.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the world of faith and business.
Yes, thank you.
We hope you found it insightful, and we'll see you next time on the Master Your Money podcast.